You are listening to the Fantasy IPA podcast.
Can't wait. It's time to go eat, baby. Let's eat.
Your audio hangout for the latest intel, projections, and analytics.
Hey, we are playing to win. I'm in a league of my own. They ain't ready for me.
Visit us at fantasyipa.com and follow us on Twitter at fantasy_IPA.
Let's do this.
And welcome to the Waiver edition of the Fantasy IPA podcast. I'm your host, Art Richardson, and as usual, I am joined by Jamie Black. Jamie, how was your fantasy football week 5?
A little bit more normal, I would say, in many ways, but then again, we have guys like Cameron Meredith who go off, but in general, very well, especially if you're a Cowboys fan. With each week, it seems to be more real, and we've been let down here before, you know that, Art, so.
Yeah, it's nice to see some studs reemerge, and Gronk, we'll touch on him in a little bit, but overall, I think, Jamie, you talked about it, about the league kind of normalizing, and it feels a little more normal for week 5, but we'll get into some of the waiver ads. So for this show, we're going to start off and, as usual, go through our injury review, talk about bye weeks, and then we'll jump right into the waiver wire ads. And I will kick us off with the injury review. At the quarterback position, Jay Cutler did not play as expected this week. So he was inactive Friday, and that may not matter as Hoyer looked really good in relief, and there are whispers that he may keep the job. Carson Palmer did not play on the short week. He is still in the concussion protocol, but Arians expects him to be cleared by Tuesday, so it's looking as though he'll be able to face the Jets at home on Monday night. Trevor Siemian was held out due to that sprain in his non-throwing shoulder. He was, however, close to playing and is expected to suit up Thursday in a juicy matchup against the Chargers. I think a poor outing by Lynch may have accelerated that healing process. Josh McCown was ruled out on Friday, but he is nearing the end of his recovery timetable. They are projecting him for week 7. We'll stick with Cleveland for the next 2 guys. Charlie Whitehurst limped off, but he was able to return. Keep an eye on him. He may need to go if Kessler can't get right. Speaking of Kessler's, the x-rays on his ribs came back negative, so they are projecting him as their week 6 starter in Tennessee. Moving on to the running backs. In surprise news today, Charles Sim was actually placed on injured reserve. Now, if he is designated able to return, it puts him, I think, either week 13 or 14. So he's probably safe to drop in deep leagues, although they do get the Saints, the Cowboys, and the Saints and the Chargers within the 13 through 16 weeks. So he may actually be worth an ad or maybe worth a preemptive pickup as we approach those weeks. Arian Foster actually practiced last week, although he did not play. I do expect Foster to kind of regain a sizable workload upon his return. Make sure you monitor his practice this week. Eddie Lacy suffered a left ankle injury in week 5. Wasn't able to finish the game. The latest coming out is that it isn't serious, although McCarthy did stop short of committing to playing him in week 6. So keep an eye on that, and we'll talk about James Starks a little bit later in our waiver column. Dwayne Washington wasn't able to play, but he looks to be on track to suit up in week 6. Jeremy Hill is expected to practice on Wednesday. Hill went into Sunday's game against the Cowboys with a chest injury, but hurt his shoulder. He only played about 15 snaps and was not able to return, but with him being expected to play Wednesday, I expect him to be in the lineups, although not sure how juicy it is against the Patriots, who really shut down the running attack of the Cleveland Browns last week. Kevin White was put on injured reserve. He's expected to go and undergo surgery. So once again, White, he'll be out at least the next 8 weeks. Probably someone that you can drop, and we will touch on Cameron Meredith in the waiver wire section. Randall Cobb took a pretty rough hit, and good news is that he is not in the concussion protocol. He is on track to face Dallas this weekend. Eric Dicker didn't play on Sunday, so there were whispers of him playing. There were whispers of him early in the week possibly going to IR, so definitely keep an eye on Eric Decker. Steve Smith suffered a leg injury, was not able to return. I have not seen any updates to him at this time. At the tight end position, we've got Ryan Griffin in the NFL concussion protocol. Even if he does return, it is back into that quagmire of tight ends at Houston, with Steven Anderson looking to return and CJ Fedorowicz there as well. He could be an iffy start even if he makes it through. Virgil Green was surprisingly inactive, getting in practices last week. So he was pretty close to playing, pretty sure he will be suiting up against the Chargers, and that's Thursday night. Clive Walford was also inactive on Sunday. I would also expect him to suit up against the Chiefs, as he also had some practice time late last week. Tyler Eifert suffered a setback, and it wasn't to his healing ankle, it was actually to his back. Now, Schefter did report that Eifert has a real shot at week 6, so keep an eye on this one, although it is definitely not a good start if you're one of the risk-averse owners, as we've seen with back injuries, how fickle they can be. And lastly, I'll close out with Gronk. Played on 64 of 72 snaps, didn't suffer any setbacks, so basically Gronk is back. Lastly, for week 6, we do have 2 teams on bye in Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Probably one of the rare occasions where the premium player missing is actually a team defense in Minnesota. So if you've got them and you've been riding them, look elsewhere. All right, Jamie, so that's going to do it for the injury roundup and the bye weeks. Let's go ahead and jump into the waiver wire additions. As per usual, we will be going over the priority ads and talking in depth, and then we'll touch on some of the deep league roster ads. But let's start at quarterback. The top 3 quarterbacks you have on your list are Dak Prescott, Sam Bradford, and Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, and Dak Prescott right now currently is only owned in 55% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, which is amazing to me. I guess I understand it because everyone keeps saying Romo's going to be the quarterback when he comes back, and for all we know, he is going to be. But right now, you have to roster Dak Prescott. I mean, he's playing out of his mind. He's the number 5 fantasy quarterback since week 1. I'm not exactly sure where he'll stand after this week. He only had to throw the ball 24 times in week 5. But still, I mean, this guy's just making plays. He's going to finish top 10 or 11 again this week without even having to do much. So he needs to be owned in every league and probably needs to be started until further notice. Sam Bradford, he got it done again in week 5, 271 passing yards and 2 touchdowns against Houston. And what's more impressive about that is no Stephon Diggs. So Minnesota's off to a 5-0 start. Bradford should provide at least high-end quarterback 2 numbers, and he's trending toward quarterback 1 status if Diggs is back in the lineup. I think he needs to be owned right now on all formats, and he's available in about 86% of Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Brian Hoyer, we talked about him last week. He has gone over 300 yards 3 weeks in a row. He put up almost 400 this week. For the short term, at least, he should be owned in all leagues. He's been a top 5 quarterback. He's available in 83% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, and it's looking more and more like Cutler's not going to get that job back. So if Hoyer's out there, go grab him. You might even consider grabbing him over Bradford.
The other quarterbacks, Jamie, you have on priority are Joe Flacco, Brock Osweiler, and Alex Smith.
Yeah, and with Flacco, he didn't have a great week this week. A lot of that can be attributed to the weather, the wind conditions there. But thing is, the bigger news in Baltimore right now is Trestman is out as offensive coordinator, and Marty Morningwig is in. And I think this is going to be good for Flacco. I think it's going to be good for some of the other players we'll get to later as well. But the offense will be a little more balanced. Flacco won't have to throw as much, but I believe he'll be more efficient. And Morningwig is notorious for taking those downfield shots, and he's also notorious for having top 10 offenses. So Flacco would be a good pickup right now. He's available in over 50% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Osweiler, he's been up and down. Playing against Minnesota, that was a tough matchup this week. And right now, he's only owned in 17% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. But I think what we got to focus on is the weapons he has at his disposal. The rookie Will Fuller is helping out a lot, and then of course stud DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Miller, and then just let me mention, for the rest of the season, Osweiler has the easiest strength of schedule at quarterback. Alex Smith, much like Osweiler, he's been off and on, hot and cold, but Smith has the second easiest remaining strength of schedule at quarterback. And coming off his bye, he's available in almost 80% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. So if you need help at quarterback and don't have better options, definitely go grab one of those two guys.
We've seen before that changes in the offensive coordinator position can oftentimes kickstart an otherwise dormant offense. So we'll see if Morningway can get them going. Brock, I would say, as a streaming option with good matchups, although it seems as though when he faces the tougher competitions, he tends to slide all the way to the end of that scale. So be careful there. All right, moving into the deep league ads, we've got Trevor Siemian, Marcus Mariota, Colin Kaepernick, Charlie Whitehurst, and Christian Ponder. Siemian was playing well. He gets a San Diego defense this week, so look for him to bounce back. Mariota, I might even say Mariota could be lumped into the priority ads as a streamer as well. He's always got the rushing threat, so had a good week this week. People might be down on him. Kaepernick and Ponder we mentioned, and this is just off speculation that they're going to look for a change there. Keep an eye on that situation. And then Charlie Whitehurst. Obviously, these guys are going to be in those deep 2 QB start leagues where the waiver wires don't have any or many starters at all. So grab these guys if they're available in those types of leagues. Jamie, let's move on to the running backs, where we're going to start with James White, Matt Asiata, Darren Sproles, and Bilal Powell.
Okay, with Brady back, White had 89 total yards, 63 of those were receiving in a game where they were leading by a large margin most of the game, and the receiving yards weren't even really needed. So White's going to be a big part of this offense moving forward with Brady. He's probably going to have big days receiving, much like Dion Lewis did last year and White did after Lewis was injured. So right now, White's available in over 50% of ESPN and Yahoo formats. He should be owned. Go grab him if he's out there. Asiata, he had over 100 yards and a touchdown in week 5. McKinnon's still a guy. He's still the guy that's going to get most of the touches. He's the athletic one. But Asiata is going to get the goal line carries, and he looks very likely to score touchdowns in an offense that is playing very well right now. So if he's out there and you need help at running back, he's definitely a great option, and he's available currently in about 85% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. I'm going to mention Sproles here because it seems like Matthews just isn't quite getting it done, and I'm not sure why. We were kind of disappointed. We thought we'd see more of Smallwood this week. Did not get a touch. So Sproles is the guy that's benefiting right now. He should be owned, but he's worth mentioning. And in ESPN and Yahoo leagues, apparently right now he's available in about 35% of those. So if he's out there and you need help at running back, definitely go grab him. And then Powell, once again, was very involved in the passing game this week. And to quite honestly, he's looking as good as Forte over the past couple of weeks. He may not be getting enough touches yet, but he's knocking on the door. So if you need running back help, especially in PPR leagues, I would grab Powell right now. He's available in about 60% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. So PPR leagues, without a doubt, go grab him. And if you need running back help in all formats, he's worth considering.
Yeah, I really love Asiata in matchup starts where we feel like the Vikings are just going to shut down the opposing offense. That was the case this weekend, and Asiata really flourished in that type of situation. Yeah, I would say Bilal Powell looks a little better than Matt Forte right now. I don't know if it was the huge workload that Forte saw in the first 3 weeks. In retrospect, looking like a bit of a mistake right now, but Powell is getting more involved, and he's always been a threat in the passing game. Now that they're giving him targets, he's producing. Let's move on to the last four here, Jamie, with Dwayne Washington, Kenneth Dixon, Fozzie Whitaker, and Jaquiz Rogers.
Yeah, and with Dwayne Washington and Detroit, they need that big back. Zenner, he didn't play very well this week. And what we did see out of him when he played Green Bay, Green Bay has shut down pretty much everyone's running game. I would say Dwayne Washington has looked as good or better than any running back running the ball against Green Bay this year. So he should return this week. I think he's going to be a pretty big part of that Detroit offense, and he's going to score some touchdowns. So look to grab Washington right now as he's available in about 86% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Kenneth Dixon, he had a terrible debut, but don't bump him down just yet. We mentioned this earlier. The Ravens have made a change at offensive coordinator. Trestman's out. Martin Wig is in. Just hold him for another game or two and see what happens. He's definitely got the tools and talent to be a great runner. I think the only thing that might slow him down is West right now, but he's available in about 65% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. We talked about Fozzie Whitaker. He's playing tonight, but he was the main beneficiary for the 2 of the first 3 weeks Stewart was out. And Carolina, they have a beneficial schedule for running backs for the rest of the remainder of the season. Whitaker is particularly valuable in PPR formats. So he's worth a grab if you need help, especially in PPR or just standard formats, spot starts, bye week fill-ins, or depth. He's available in about 63% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues right now. And then Jack Rogers. Don't know what happened with Charles Sims. He was placed on the IR, just kind of out of left field this week. Rogers is worth grabbing as a third down back in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's on bye this week, so Martin will almost certainly be back next week to handle the majority of the load. But remember, Charles Sims was getting, quite a few touches, even with Martin at 100%. And from what I've seen tonight, Rogers has looked really good. He's available in 80% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. And Tampa Bay has the second easiest remaining strength of schedule for running backs. So if you need help, definitely go grab Rogers.
Yeah, I would say that I know we put this together a little bit earlier, but Rogers probably jumps up a couple spot after Sims goes on IR. And then tonight he's got 21 for 80 on the ground, 4 targets, 3 receptions for 16 yards in the passing game. So yeah, I'd probably bump him up a little bit on this list. And as you mentioned, Jamie, as the passing down back, he should be seeing some work. And I already talked about, you talked about his strength of schedule, and I talked about his playoff schedule. Could be a good target to grab there. Let's move to the deep league and large roster ads, where we've got Jay Ajayi, James Starks, Mike Gillislee, Derrick Henry, Bobby Rainey, Jalen Richard, DeAndre Washington, Devonta Booker, Orleans Darkwa, Josh Ferguson, and Dion Lewis. So Jay Ajayi, probably the only thing keeping him off the priority ads right now is Foster looking to get healthy in return, but that could be short-served, so make sure you're grabbing Ajayi. James Starks is probably more of a handcuff. Keep an eye on Eddie Lacy's injury. Mike Gillislee has looked good in spot duty, so in that running game that is looking pretty good there. If anything were to happen to McCoy, Gillislee could be a difference maker. We've got Derrick Henry down here, and when you're talking about difference makers and who could win your league if the person in front of him goes down, I think Henry may be the most appealing on this list, in that if Murray does go down, Henry could be a monster and be thrust right into running back one. territory. Bobby Rainey, 74 yards on 6 catches. So even with Rashad Jennings possibly coming back, Rainey should retain that pass catching role. Jalen Richard actually looked a little better than Washington this week. We'll see what happens with that 3-headed running back crew over there. Same goes for DeAndre Washington. Devonta Booker, he's getting a little bit of work over there, and he actually looks good, but once again, probably not startable in smaller leagues unless an Andrew Anderson injury were to occur. Orleans Darkwa, tough going last week, but he's still a starting running back until Jennings gets back. Josh Ferguson still looks to be the pass-catching back over there, although Turbin wasn't active this week. Ferguson would look to see a bump if anything were to happen to Gore. And then as a preemptive pickup, we remember how good Dion Lewis was last year. So if you got the room, he is eligible to return in week 7, so you may need to grab him now. Moving into the wide receivers, Jamie, your first 4 are Sammy Coates, Chris Hogan, Jeremy Curley, and Cameron Meredith. What do you have on these guys?
Yeah, starting with Coates, it seems like every week I have more and more to say about him. And last week we talked about it, and I believe I mentioned that I thought he was better suited than Wheaton to be the number 2 receiver there. And he had an absolute breakout week this week with 6 catches, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. And wow, Wheaton's gone. Coates, I mentioned last week, had a 40-yard reception in every game he's played in this year, 40 yards or longer, and he did it again. And Coates also dropped a would-be touchdown this week. He could have had a absolute monster week. It looks like this guy's living up to the potential, to the physical tools we thought that he had. He's available in over 60% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. If he's out there, you have to go grab him right now. Chris Hogan, he's another guy. How is he available in 70% of leagues right now? He's available in 70% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. That's amazing. With Tom Brady coming back, you would think that more people would have gone out and grabbed him. Had a big week this week. He is a must-own right now in all league formats. If he's available, go grab him. Jeremy Curley, 2 weeks in a row now. Pretty big games. 6 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. In week 4, I believe, and then his stat line in week 5, he had 8 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown, and he was targeted 13 times. He's the number 1 receiver in San Francisco right now. This is also a team with the 5th easiest remaining strength of schedule for receivers. He's the number 1 receiver in a Chip Kelly offense, and he's a must-own right now in all formats. He's actually available in over 90% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues as well. And then Cameron Meredith, with Kevin White getting hurt, going under the knife on the IR, Cameron Meredith is going to be the number 2 receiver starting opposite Alshon Jeffrey with Royal manning the slot. And Meredith showed up this week, 9 catches, 130 yards, a touchdown on 12 targets. He's on everyone's radar right now. He should be a priority pickup, and he seems to have a chemistry with Brian Hoyer. So right now, considering all that, considering he has the second easiest remaining strength of schedule for receivers, and he's available in 98% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, go grab him if he's out there.
Yeah, Sammy Coates just looks like a perfect fit in that offense where it looks like he's finally getting fully acclimated, and with Ben throwing it deep over there. Hogan looking like the deep threat that Brady's been looking for the past couple years. And then Meredith, man, it took 3 receivers ahead of him either being hurt or banged up, but he made the most of his chances. So we'll see if he can keep that up. I'm pulling for him. Next, Jamie, you've got Adam Thielen, Kenny Britt, Robert Woods, and Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and we've seen since Bradford has taken over that he and Thielen have had some sort of chemistry and connection there. And Stephon Diggs is obviously the number one receiver, but Thielen looks like a guy. He's not going anywhere. He's going to put up numbers. 7 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets this week. And again, he's the clear number 2 wide receiver there behind Diggs. Chemistry with Bradford is there. He's probably worth adding in most formats. I'm not saying he's going to put up those types of numbers every week when Diggs is on board, because Kyle Rudolph is there to take a lot of that as well. Plus, they've got 2 good running backs. But if you're looking for help at receiver, Thielen is a pretty good pickup. He's available in 98% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues as well. Kenny Britt, every week he keeps doing it. Another solid game. 5 catches, 75 yards on 6 targets. Until further notice, he needs to be owned right now. He's not going to put up huge numbers, but he's going to keep putting up 5 catches for 70, 80 yards, and he's going to score the occasional touchdown. And that is worthy of ownership in most leagues. So if you need a receiver right now, if you need any help at receiver, go grab Britt, who's available in over 90% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Robert Woods, he didn't play as well this week, but he still had 6 targets, and right now he's the Bills' number 1 receiver. And we're watching McCoy run wild. Just the offensive line has really come together in Buffalo. The running game is going. Defenses are going to have to start paying attention to that, or McCoy's just going to run through them all day. So things are going to open up for Woods. He also has the 3rd easiest remaining strength of schedule for receivers. He's available in about 75% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. So if you need help at receiver, again, go grab Woods. Devontae Adams, okay. Surprisingly, he's available in 90% of Yahoo and ESPN leagues. He scored another touchdown. Even with Nelson and Cobb playing well, Adams had 5 catches for 85 yards. And like I said, scored a touchdown. He really looks like he's developing into that player that everyone thought we would see last year. Just didn't quite get there. I think Rodgers has more trust in him now. So I just see things getting better for Adams, to be honest. I would go grab him right now as a strong wide receiver 3, a flex option. And if anything happens to Cobb or Nelson, he could blow up. So if Devontae Adams is out there in your league, like he is in 90% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, definitely go grab him up with no hesitation.
Next set of receivers starts with Michael Thomas, Brian Quick, Terrence Williams, and we'll throw in Pierre Garçon on the bottom there, Jamie.
Sure. Michael Thomas, he's still available in 45% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues, and he's been solid through the first 4 weeks. He might have been a forgotten man coming out of a bye week, so I don't anticipate much changing after the bye. If anything changes, he could be even more involved. So if you need help, go grab him. Brian Quick, he had 3 catches for 51 yards, and that's 3 weeks in a row now that he's been productive. So it's probably time he's picked up if you have room or you need help. He could be a bye week replacement or a spot start player moving forward. He's actually available in over 90% of Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Bryce Butler, me personally, I prefer him to Terrence Williams when Dez isn't playing. I think he's the better athlete. Williams had the better game this week, but Butler had a touchdown called back on an illegal formation penalty. So I think he offers about the same short-term value as Terrence Williams, just with more upside. So until Dez comes back, Bryce Butler definitely worth a grab. Terrence Williams, just mentioned him. He's going to be more consistent, and when Dez comes back, he's going to play more snaps. He doesn't have quite the upside Butler does, but he did have another solid game, catching all 5 of his targets for 70 yards this week. So he definitely has short-term value in most leagues. And even when Dez returns, we'll see. He might continue to hold that value as he's building some chemistry with Dak Prescott there. Pierre Garçon, 5 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets in week 5. And that is 2 out of the last 3 that he's been targeted 7 times or more, 5 catches, and gone over 50 yards. It looks like Deshaun Jackson and Reed are drawing all that attention, and Garçon is actually becoming fantasy relevant again. So he's available in 80% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. If you need help, go grab him.
And Jamie, you've got about 9 names that you wanted to mention. Now, these guys are probably have a little bit of a higher percentage of ownership across leagues, but you wanted to throw it out there just in case they happen to still be on the wires. What are those names?
Yeah, these guys we probably mentioned more than once, but Tyrell Williams, everyone saw he had a big week again. Cole Beasley, Jamison Crowder doesn't even have to have a good week receiving and returns a punt for a touchdown. So Terrell Pryor, of course, Victor Cruz, Travis Benjamin. We saw another big week from him. Devontae Parker only has to catch 2 passes to have a big week. Quincy Enunwa, Mike Wallace. I want to touch just 1 second on Wallace. Again, with the offensive coordinator change, Marty Mornhinweg is one of the things that he does is he takes shots down the field, probably as much as any offensive coordinator in the NFL. And on Baltimore, that means Mike Wallace. So if he's out there, definitely grab him. I think we're gonna see a lot of shots taken from Flacco to Wallace. And then Tavon Austin, he's more involved each week, and again, another big week this one.
All right, Jamie, thanks for that. And on to the deep league and large roster ads. We've got Eddie Royal, Cordarrelle Patterson, Brandon LaFell, Dorial Green-Beckham, Rashard Matthews, Jalen Strong, Anquan Bolden, Andrew Hawkins, Chris Conley, and Dontrell Inman. Eddie Royal is going to continue to man the slot over there in Chicago with Hoyer in there looking a little bit better. Cordarrelle Patterson, he's actually starting to look involved within the offense. He's always been that special teams threat, but it looks like they're actually giving him a chance on the field, especially with Stephon Diggs banged up a little bit. LaFell isn't always pretty, but he tends to have pretty big games. He's available and looks like he may be taking a hold of that number 2 wide receiver position in Cincinnati. Dorial Green-Beckham, a little more involved, still a physical freak over there in Philadelphia. Rashard Matthews, maybe they're lighting a fire under his ass with Andre Johnson taking a starting job, but still a deep league ad there, as well as Jalen Strong and Bolden. Bolden continues to get into the end zone and kind of get a lot of those shorter targets. Andrew Hawkins scored a touchdown this week with Coleman out and Gordon nowhere to be seen. He's looking to be the beneficiary over there. Chris Conley and Dontrell Inman round us out. These guys are going to put up numbers. They may be hard to predict, but definitely worth owning in deeper leagues. All right, Jamie, let's move on to the tight ends. And starting with Zach Miller, Dennis Pitta, and a pair of San Diego Chargers and Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates. What do you got with these guys?
Zach Miller, another good game, 7 catches for 73 yards. And it doesn't look like he's going to slow down, especially now with White out on the IR. He and Hoyer have some chemistry, and I see this trend continuing. If he's out there, go grab him. Dennis Pitta, we've talked about him several times. In a week where Flacco had a poor game, Pitta still caught 7 passes and 59 yards. So there's not really much else to say there. If he's available, he needs to be picked up. And then Hunter Henry, this is the exception to that rule that tight ends don't produce their rookie year, because he is. Right now, he's become a must-own. I think even with Gates coming back, Henry needs to be owned. He had 74 yards and a touchdown this week with Gates in the lineup. And Gates may not be 100% yet, but it looks like Henry is here to stay. And speaking of Gates, he is getting healthy now, and the rapport that he has with Rivers probably means touchdown in most weeks. Rivers is throwing 3 or 4 a game, and Gates is definitely the goal line go-to guy.
To round out your priority ads, Jamie, you've got Cameron Brate.
Yeah, Cameron Brate. Last week, we talked about it the week before when Tampa Bay dropped Austin Sferis-Jenkins, and Brate has been heavily targeted. He's caught touchdowns. I'm not sure what he's done tonight. I'll let you get to that, Art. But Brate is a guy in this offense that, with Vincent Jackson not playing very well, that needs to be owned right now. I think he's going to put up good numbers, and tight end is fairly thin this year, so grab him if he's available. Dwayne Allen, he finally looked like the number 1 tight end in Indy. 6 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown in week 5, and he is the number 1 tight end in Indianapolis. If he's available, it's probably time to pick him up. And Charles Clay, with Watkins out here, Clay is going to put up numbers. He's going to get targets every week. He caught 5 balls for 73 yards in week 5, and the coaching staff has talked about getting him involved. They gave him that big contract, so it looks like they're going to let him earn it. If he's available and you need help at tight end, you could definitely do worse. Go grab Clay if he's out there.
Yeah, quiet night for Brate so far. Only 2 targets with 1 reception. It was for 38 yards, but on the flip side, just a note, Greg Olsen is up to 9 receptions for 181 yards. Speaking of tight ends, he's having his way out there. But let's move on to the deep league ads here at tight end, and we've got Garrett Selleck, C.J. Fedorowicz, Ryan Griffin, Jesse James, Crockett Gilmore, and Ladarius Green. Garrett Selleck over there in San Francisco didn't have a great game, but there's going to be opportunities for him in that offense. Fedorowicz and Griffin, once again, there's a kind of a quagmire of tight ends over there, and even Steven Anderson returning. So these guys are only ads in the deepest of leagues in tight end premium. Jesse James had a good week with 6 catches for 43 and a touchdown. As long as he's the number 1 tight end, he'll be start worthy. And Crockett Gilmore showed up with 4 catches and a touchdown in week 5. Pitta still got his, but it looks like they're going to implement both tight ends. And Gilmore, who had quite a year last year before getting injured, is someone to keep an eye on. And then lastly, Ladarius Green, who will be eligible to return in week 7. So if you've got the roster space, grab him up before any of your opponents do. So that's going to do it for the week 6 waiver wire edition. Jamie, any final thoughts for the listeners?
Same as previous weeks. The league is starting to balance out. We're seeing some younger players that are having big games, and those guys, some of them will continue to. But the veterans that have been quiet are waking up right now, and they'll continue to do that in the upcoming weeks. So again, hang on to your studs. They're going to start putting up numbers. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel some big games coming for him. So other than that, just thanks for listening. We'll keep doing this, and hopefully we'll keep getting better at it.
Yeah, make sure you're diligently working that waiver wire. I stress it every week that as we enter buys and as we get further along, keep plugging away. And even if you're in a big hole, half the teams in your league you're losing every week, so you're never truly out until you're mathematically eliminated. So work that waiver wire. Find those waiver wire gems. And that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you for listening. And please remember to follow Jamie at FIPA_black. That's FIPA_black. Make sure you're following the site at fantasy_IPA and visit the site at www.fantasyipa.com, where you can see our written content, including this waiver wire column that we'll be posting shortly. So thanks for listening. And until next time, make sure you get you some IPA.
Adios.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy IPA podcast.
It's over, Johnny! Yeah, you did it!
Visit us at fantasyipa.com and follow us on Twitter at fantasy_IPA.
Hail to the king, baby. To the house, baby!
Please subscribe and review at iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Call trust! That's called trust!
See you next time, and until then, make sure you get you some IPA.
Come get some. Get some! Get some! Get some! We just want to say thank you for all the love.
And we're out.